something new, finding my way through.
Monday or whichever day you're watching the playback, it's Miss Krystal, and I am joining you on another episode of Kandid Konversations with Miss Krystal podcast. Y'all, I cannot believe, I think this is my 15th episode. I cannot believe that I'm already 15 episodes in. And just a heads up, I've got just a couple more episodes under my belt, and then we're going to take a break for the summer, and then I'll come back strong with season 2. Well, this week's episode is one that is dear to my heart, y'all. We're going all the way in our feelings, but in the best way. You know, it's graduation season. I want to say congratulations to the class of 2025. And we're not just celebrating tassels and turn-ups. Today, we're honoring the finishers. Yes, those that finished strong. The ones who may not have taken the traditional route, but came back with fire and said, I'm finishing this thing for me. And it hits different this year. And I'm going to tell you why. That's because my twin sister, yes, my twin sister, Kristen Goodner, and my cousin, my first cousin, I still call her my baby cousin, y'all, Kiri Mitchell. Two women I admire so deeply. They did a thing after motherhood, caretaking, doubt, and everything else life tried to throw at them. They said, I'm not done yet. So today's episode is all about finishing strong, celebrating the comeback, encouraging the ones still on the journey, and reminding us all it's never too late to fulfill the promise you made to yourself. So let's get candid and welcome to the comeback, the comeback crew. It is the comeback crew. Finish strong, the comeback crew. Coming up first is Miss Kristen Goodner.
Hello.
My womb mate. Get it? My womb mate. How you doing, Kristen?
Doing very well. We'll share another story on another day about being womb mates with this one here, guys.
All right, Kristen. Yeah. And she's an avid supporter of Kandid Konversations. Definitely appreciate your support. And you're always on the other side. Today you are here. And the next one coming to the stage, my cousin, Miss Kiri Mitchell. Hey, Kiri.
Hi, everyone. Hi, cousins.
Hey. Well, first off, I want to say a big congratulations to you ladies. How does it feel?
Kiri, how's it feel?
It feels like a lot of weight off of our shoulders. I know for me personally. So it's definitely a long journey, but we're finally here, continuing another journey, but just thankful that we made it.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into it, you guys. I want you to take us back. When did you first start your college journey? What made you pause? When did we first start? Do you want to go? You want to go first, Kristen?
When did you first start? I'll briefly kind of walk everyone through my journey. So I started directly after high school. So I graduated, of course, from Jeffersonville High School, Jeffersonville, Indiana, only high school in Jeffersonville, of course. Immediately signed up.
You got to shout out the class, though. The class of 2000.
Class of 2 stacks, 2000. So, you know, it was kind of like I was kind of doing it in a blind manner, I guess you could say, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I had a passion for psychology, but that was about the gist of it. But I had enrolled in classes immediately upon graduating, May 2000. So I set up classes at Indiana University Southeast. And then boom, 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 right? Grandmama ended up passing on, right? Am I correct with that timeline, guys? And so, you know, everybody, the wonderful thing about Grandmama Stone is that she allowed everyone to feel like they were her favorite, right? So she was my person. And when I tell you it rocked my world, it rocked my world. So I immediately just kind of felt like I was wandering through like this black abyss. So I knew that I didn't have much to work with to offer my classes. So I dropped out, of course, right?
And so we are, and if you're just now joining us, we are talking about finishing strong, congratulating these ladies who are the class of 2025, went back, made a decision to go back and finish their college degree. My twin sister, Ms. Kristen, sharing the story of our grandmother, our beloved, the matriarch of our family. And Kiri, we are cousins because our mothers are sisters. And so we grew up together. And so grandmama passes in 2001. It's something that actually took all of us by surprise. For several months, we thought she just had a flu that she couldn't kick. Went to the doctor, found out it was an aggressive cancer, and she was gone just weeks later. So I could understand how it took you out of it. So you started out, did you start it out at U of L, right? Because I know, because Mama was working at U of L at the time, and you were able to go.
Yeah, I started at IUS, Indiana University. And then I think I'd like to think that I was probably your average college student, not really supporting forced learning. And that's the way I looked at it back in the day, guys. Like I looked at it literally like forced learning in a classroom environment. It just wasn't that fun to me. It really wasn't. It didn't really get fun until I started getting into my core classes. But then Mama got sick, right? Mama fell ill in 2008, maybe?
2009.
And so again, our world shook. And so, what was supposed to be a comeback, another opportunity for me when things I thought had gotten better, my world shook. And that's the thing about it. When you become an adult, and that's what I tell a lot of younger folk, when you become an adult responsibilities oftentimes will have a way of kind of creating additional barriers, right? So Mom got sick, right? Mama got sick. And so again, my world shook, and I just stopped taking my coursework again. I think it was, but I had been off and on for so many years. But the biggest piece, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, of course, and take up Kiri's time. The biggest piece was that I want to really stress is that not only had I taken off so many times, but I always did keep a commitment in returning because that was my goal. I had failed my math class, and we'll talk about barriers, I guess, later on, setbacks. I had failed my math class 7 to 8 times at Indiana University Southeast. So you want to talk about discouragement, like I was heavily discouraged. So
and I think that that's a real story. And so we big shout outs to the class of 2000. Can't believe it's going to be our 25th year reunion coming up this year.
Yes. Shout out to G.
Yeah. And so, we all got excited and, went off to college right after we graduated. But like Kristen said, our grandmother passed, matriarch of her family kind of took her out. And then our mother, and the thing about our mom, it wasn't just a regular illness. Our mom, this is the first time probably on this platform that I've shared the story of my mom, our mother, who suffered 54 years old, and she suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm, which caused her to go on to have a series of strokes. And so you have someone who was active, vibrant, employee at the University of Louisville, taking care of her father, become incapacitated. And it was touch and go if she was even going to survive. And so that was 2009. Let's keep it right there. Kiri, let's talk about you, when you graduated, when you went to school, and then what stopped you.
Well, this is definitely taking me back memory lane. 20 years. I'm not a spring chicken, okay? But I will say that I graduated in 2004. So, when my big cousins right here, they graduated in 2021, I was like couple years down the road in 04. And I was in Nashville, Tennessee, but my senior year, my dad got transferred to New York, upstate New York. So my senior year, I had to leave Nashville, where there was over 2,000 students there, multicultural, over 100 something different languages spoken. So a lot of culture in Nashville, to upstate New York, that was 10 minutes from the Canadian border, with people who didn't look like me. I was the only African-American, indigenous person to graduate for the class of 2004.
Gosh, wow.
And there was 4 Black people in the school out of 400. So that was a difference from going from 2000, where there's so many people that look like you, to going to where you're the only one representing your class. So it was very much a culture shock. The only people that was there was Caucasian folks, and they did not know how to interact with real Black people. All they saw was people on TV and movies. So we kind of had to navigate that path. And before I left, they did get a taste of some African American culture. During Black History Month, I had a conference with the principal. I was like, look, I'm not feeling inclusive here. I know that I'm the minority, but I feel like if I'm over 2,000 miles away from my home, let's share some culture. So African American History Month, we was on the PA system giving African American Black facts.
Come on.
But that was the legacy that I left there. And then so I was like, when I graduate, I'm going to find me the Blackest school that I can find here in New York. So I went to Buffalo, New York, which is definitely Black. Okay. And it was 5 hours away from my mom and dad. So it was a struggle for them. I didn't even know this, but they struggled to even pay for toilet paper. So for me, it was a big sacrifice for them to send me to school, and then for me to be so far away from them. It was definitely a culture shock. All my friends was from New York City, so I had to get hip to the lingo. And then after that, in 2005, we moved to Kansas City, Missouri. And so I went to.
And so just to preface it, though, the reason you were moving around, your father worked for General Motors. And so he was moving when on assignment from the factory.
Yes. Yes. If they would have a layoff or a plant would close, or maybe they would have better job offers, he would take it. So that he could make sure that his family had the lifestyle that he wanted them to see, and that he didn't have, because both my parents, they grew up in the projects. That's right. Shepherd Square in Louisville and Joe Johnson projects in Nashville. So they wanted us to have a better life than they did, all of our parents. And so then I went to, that was Buffalo State College. I loved that school. I was crying because I had to leave. But we moved to Kansas City, and I went to UMKC and then Rockhurst University. And then we was like, we ready to go home to Louisville. You know what I'm saying? What has Louisville got to offer? So in 2007, we transferred to U of L. Go Cards.
And you said we because big shout out to Taylor, your sister. Taylor, she had graduated by that time, and so you and her were going to the school in Kansas City together, and then you two transferred to the University of Louisville. So talk about your time at the University of Louisville, because your story kind of is similar to what happened with me. What kind of, caused my process a bit.
Girl, exactly. So 2007, I moved to Louisville, me and my younger sister. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was 21. Okay. I'm in a new city. I can get into the club without a fake ID. I'm not going to tell her whose fake IDs we were using, but so it was just a time, like Kristen. I mean, I was in school, but I was trying to turn up too. I was trying to see what the city had to offer. So
and let's go on and be real, because this is Candid Conversations. You the daughter of a preacher. So the daughter of a preacher's
daughter. Yeah. I'm a PK. I'm a PK. Yeah, I'm a PK. So growing up in our household, it was very strict, very, structured. And so it's like freedom, I'm 21, I'm on my own, I'm with my big cousins. I can, do what I want to do pretty much. And so then November that year, Thanksgiving, my cousin Krystal, she got us a hotel suite. Because my parents were going to come in town and visit us for the Thanksgiving break. And so, but they ended up not coming for some reason, I guess finances or something. But So we just took the suite, me and my younger sister, and we went out for Thanksgiving. And then I met the man of my dreams. I found love, you know, in the club.
I did not realize
Love in the
I was working
club.
for Marriott, right? That was when I was working for Marriott.
You was working for Marriott, yes. In
And y'all went
07.
to a part. Where'd you go? You guys went to
Jim Porter's.
Jim
That's
Porter.
no longer here. But it was like so packed. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this all the people that Louisville has to offer? I mean, I saw some guys that was not looking hot, and I was just like, ugh. But then when I saw my husband, I was like, oh, who is this? Okay, Louisville, I see what y'all got.
Like?
He looked like Plies to me.
I remember that. And so you're in a new city, new school, but then you meet this guy that sweeps you up off your feet. And next thing you know, you got a little baby on the way.
Yes. And it was so crazy because y'all mentioned Aunt Janice and having her stroke and aneurysm. Literally on the day of my baby shower is when her stroke happened and her aneurysm. So it was just, I'm just like, I don't even know how to handle everything because I've got these hormones, these emotions, my aunt, school. So it was pretty rough.
That was a really rough time because
there's a lot going on.
I had went to Mama's house because the baby shower was actually at my house, and went to Mom's house because I was supposed to be using like a Christmas tree as like decorations to put like baby stuff on it. And knocked on the door, and Mama didn't answer the door. And all of a sudden I'm like, Mama, you know, and that's how we found her. And we tried to go on and, hey, Kayla, look, hey,
Kayla.
Speaking of the other one, this was us growing up. Okay. But great story. So inspiration. Congrats. Y'all watching from Mom and Dad. Oh,
hey, Kayla. Hey, Aunt Stephanie. Hey, Uncle Michael.
But yeah, had we not been doing your baby shower, I would not have went over there, and God knows what would have happened. And so you guys have painted the picture of what was happening during that time and what caused you to say, hey, I need to step back and reassess things. And this school thing just isn't, a reality for me right now. So all of these things were happening, and you all just went off and then, got jobs and working. But what was the turning point that made you say, no more waiting, I'm going to go back? What was it for you that made you say, I've got to get back to it? Kiri, I'll start with you.
Well, when I had my son, I was first time mom, and my mom was like, well, Kiri, you can, we'll watch the baby during the week, and you can come pick him up on the weekends. And it just didn't sit right with me because I know that my mom was a hands-on mom. So I said, I don't want to miss, pivotal moments of him smiling, crawling, and just, seeing him on the weekend. So I'm going to have to take a sacrifice, and I'm going to have to drop out of school. And then I decided back in 2000 and, shortly after he was like 1, maybe I'll take a couple courses, and try to get my foot back in the door. But it was so hard because before I had my son, I wasn't working full time. And now I'm working full time and, trying to juggle motherhood and postpartum depression. And, then also trying to take these classes and figure this out. I can't do 5 classes anymore. I have to do 2. So, and then after that, it just got so stressful. I just had to really take a break, like 5 years, take a break. And just raise my kids, raise them, make sure I was involved in their sports, their school, preschool, reading, writing, just active.
And I'll say that, and I'll say this, and look, I'm gonna tell y'all a story with y'all because this is my family. This is our story, that your mom, if anyone knows, Stephanie Stone Frierson was one of the original members of the New Life Singers for Bobby Jones Gospel. But when she began to have children, it was her desire to want to raise her children. And she literally left her gospel career to be a mom. And so that was an example for you to know, I'm going to be a hands-on mom. So you made that decision to go back. Okay. Kristen, how about you? What was it for you? What was it that made you say, I've got to go back. I'm going to get this done. I've got to do it.
Opportunities, like missed opportunities, like, when you're focused in a specific field. And I've always kind of been really precise about my career choices. But when you're focused in a particular field and you find yourself kind of almost capped out with leadership opportunities, there's nowhere else for you to really go because you don't have that piece of paper. It's kind of when you can kind of put things in perspective, like, maybe it is forced learning, but maybe I need this, right? Maybe I want this to continue to live the life that I want to live, lead the way I want to lead, affect people the way I want to, impact people. And then you just, having a wonderful, wonderful wife who's very educated, and who has just always poured into me and who has always believed in me. So just never having that quitting, mentality, really.
And Kristen, and I did not expect for these emotions, because it's like, oh my goodness, sometimes we bury things because it was 2009 through 2000, what, like 13 for me.
Right.
That was, it was a tough time.
Yeah, witnessing your mother on a ventilator, and then still having to work, still having to face life on a daily basis. It is a lot. And, as a caregiver, and so I'm still a caregiver to this day, right?
No, but that's what I wanted you to talk about. Talk about how Kristen did the unselfish thing during that time, because my girls were small. I mean, well, I only had one girl at that time. Yeah. Ari was young. Ari was about 5 years old during this time. And you made it's going to make me cry.
Oh,
no.
She's our mother.
Yeah.
I mean, she made the unselfish decision to be a caretaker for Mama, because we thought what she was going through, it was going to be temporary and she was going to be back home. But we were talking about, assisted living and nursing homes and stuff like that. We're talking about how that affected your look, Kiri's petting her dog. Talk about how that affected your timeline, though, Kristen, and how that was hard to juggle going to school, working, and then taking care of Mama.
It was very stressful, but I tell you, we serve a mighty, mighty God, don't we? We serve a mighty God. And one thing that Brother Tim Finley talked about was at the, at the graduation
Ascension.
Yep, that they had at St. Stephen's. I tell you, his prayer was, we are living off the prayers from our grandmothers. And when I tell you those prayers, the prayer of the righteous availeth much, they do. Because yes, I moved out of my apartment. I gave away my dog to move back in my mother's house, to preserve all those things, because I knew it was our goal, our dream, to get our mother back in her house that she had worked so hard to get her children, right? So it was very stressful. It kind of like you almost mourning, though, really. But so the blessed part was this, though, guys. In 2009, I was working at AT&T at the time. And so they knew mom had fell ill. And so they knew that my focus was no longer really, really there. I mean, I'm getting phone calls, Krystal, if you can recall, I'm getting phone calls like, well, hey, Mama had another stroke. And so they're going to know if
she's going to make it. Yeah.
We don't know if she's going to make it. She's going to have to go in and have another emergency procedure.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a phone call like this on a 15-minute break and then going back into a heavily loaded sales position. So they ended up ending my contract there at AT&T. But the blessing out of everything was, hey, this was when Obama was in office, guys. I was able to get unemployment for 3 years. So that was the amazing thing of it. And so I was able to take care of Mama, still visit her at a nursing facility, make sure she was getting the physical therapy, occupational therapy, very aggressive, the way she needed it, because I mean, I knew I wanted my mother to make a full recovery. But then I was able to still juggle like a few classes here and there because I was collecting unemployment.
And I'll say this because, if you used to listen to me on the radio, I felt like on a weekly basis the miraculous testimony of my mother, who was 54 years old. And all we could think about is that she's too young, because they didn't know what to do with her. She was too young to go in a nursing home, but she still needed help. And so, we worked hard to try to get her back to her home. And every day it was like we never knew what we were facing. I want to shout out some of the people that are here. I know this girl Kiri, but you know her also from Humana. Miss Nikki Tandy said, "Hey, Kiri."
Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Hey,
and our girl Miss Mojo, who has she has been part of our family in our journey. I mean, she was there, grandmama's funeral. So big shout out to my sis, and big shout outs to Mr. John. It's a great program. Thank you, John. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so I didn't expect to do all this crying and stuff, but I'm going to, because this is near and dear to my heart. But now let's get back to it, though. Did you ever battle with shame or comparison when thinking about going back, and what helped silence those voices, Kiri? We got Kayla here in the room. Kayla went to school. She finished her degree and then went back and got her master's. Did you ever feel like you had a time where you were comparing yourself to your sister or anybody else that had went to school at the same time as you had and finished, and you were still like, gosh, I'm still waiting for my chance to go back and finish what I started?
Yeah, to be honest, everybody thinks about, someone else's journey, and, you start at the same time, and, somebody may finish their journey earlier than you. And so you always have that self awareness, or maybe self insecurities when it comes to that type of thing. But as I've matured, I know that my journey is my journey, and everybody else's journey is their journey. So what may work for them is perfect, but what may work for me is perfect for me. So even though, at the time my sister was getting her undergraduate degree, I was carrying a bundle of joy, 9 pounds, 2 ounces. And I'm rolling up to the graduation with a big old beach ball, in my stomach. And so, like you mentioned, Krystal, my mom, she's always said, I'm going to put on hold my professional career in Hollywood, so that my kids don't have to call a nanny mom, or think our nanny is their mom. So I came with that same mentality. Yes, my school, I really want to finish this degree, but I got to raise these kids. And so, I was still happy for my sister and everybody that I knew, because I was a senior when I got pregnant. So I had the whole class, all my friends was graduating, in 2009 and 2010. All I could do was just congratulate them. Somebody told me that, never getting your feelings about somebody else achieving their goals, because that's their journey. That's their blessing. Be happy for them, because when it's your time, you're going to want someone to be just as happy and joyous for you sincerely. And so that stuck with me. But I mean, I wouldn't trade my journey for the world, because
let's talk about it. You ended up marrying the man of your dreams, and you all ended up having another child. And so you live in this full wifey life,
Right. These kids keep coming, right?
Some dreams came before the others, right? Some dreams came before the others.
That's
most
good.
And you know what, y'all, honestly, my goal, to get a degree was fine, but my goal was to find love and to have kids. I remember I was maybe 10, and we went to this church in Nashville, and I turned around and looked at this Black couple, and they was just looking so like Michelle and Obama, but before Michelle and Obama, right?
No, we had Bill, Claire and
Huxtable.
The Huxtables. That was ours.
Yes. They looked like the Huxtables in this church, and they had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they all looked alike. And I was like, oh my God, I want that. I want to have a husband and 2 kids, a boy and a girl. So that was my dream. Like, my dream was fulfilled in 2000 and and 2010, and then when we had our daughter in 2011. So I was fine when I was supposed to be in research methods. Kristen, you know about that class, girl.
Yeah, girl.
Honey, I'm saying, okay, checking off. Okay, I love him. Let me see what the pros and cons are, so I can see if my heart is really. That's what I'm talking about in research methods. I wasn't really thinking about school and degree because sometimes a degree can't hold you warm at night. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. So I wanted the man and the kids, and then I'm gonna get my degree, of course. But I started in my career field, and it's such a blessing that when I got on in my career field, I was literally making more than people who had a college degree. It was just the college degree was just the certification, but I was already making bands on top of bands, so I was good either way. But I wanted the man and the kids, and
that's right.
And she got that. Hey, I want to share this with you, ladies. This conversation is so. I've met so many people that graduated this year that are non-traditional students that went back. And again, going back, it's one thing to go, stop, and then just go on and work, but it's personal when you go back, because a lot of times if you're in your career, you don't really have to, but there's something in you that's like, I want to go do this for me. I want to shout out this beautiful lady right here. I love her, Miss Beverly. Oh, I thought this was Beverly from the church, but Miss Beverly Hearn. Big shout out to Miss Beverly. She says, this reminds me of when I went back to finish my degree in my 40s, take care of my family, working. I had to help take care of my grandmother until she passed. I did get my bachelor's degree. Everybody, come on, Miss Beverly. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what it's about.
And so now, last Saturday, the Saturday before last for you, Kristen, and then the Monday before last for you, Kiri, when you walked across that stage and you got that piece of paper, you got that diploma. Well, actually, they're going to mail it to you. You got that folder. They're going to mail you your diploma. And that's a whole nother shout situation when you get that. But what did that moment feel like for you, Kristen? I want to share these pictures, but y'all got to feel, what did that moment feel like for you? This is what took me out. This is you and your forever partner.
Because I tell you, she had cried so many nights with me when I had not passed my math course. And I knew I was not a failure. I knew I wasn't a failure. And she just never stopped believing in me. And, I talked on the phone to you, Krystal, and you said, Kristen, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm not done trying. And then you told me, if you're not done trying, what's your plan? And I said, well, listen, maybe I need to transition from IUS to U of L, right? I said, because there's got to be a way. There has got to be a way, because, I believed in God's promises. I believed in God's promises. And I can remember, I'm going to say it real quick, when my Aunt Pearl passed on, I can remember we were probably like maybe sophomore year, maybe it was senior year. I can't remember.
Yeah, we were 17. Yeah. We were 17 years old.
She was 37 years old. I'm 43 now. Krystal's 43. Kiri, you're what, 40?
Kristen, of course I'm 40. We're twins.
I'm 38, baby. Hold on now.
I'm baby to 40. My bad. But so my Aunt Curl, she sat on the couch at my grandmother's house at the age of 37, knowing that she was going to pass. We were old enough at that point in time to know that she wouldn't make it. And I remember her looking at us in the living room, and I remember her looking at me, and she kind of went down the line to all three of us there at that time. Pardon me, I'm sorry. Me, Krystal, and Kelly. And she said, what do you want to do when you get older? And I knew that it was my Aunt Curl's way of pushing us, and manifesting, because I knew that she knew that she would not be there. But so as I walked across the stage, it was a commitment. It was bigger than me. So it was much, much bigger than me. It was a commitment to my aunt who passed from breast cancer. At the age of 37, I did it. It was a commitment to my grandmama and my grandfather. My grandfather, who always said, don't be like this. You know, if you're in the middle, don't hang with people here in the middle. Don't hang with people down below. Hang with people above you. So it was a nod to granddaddy. It was a nod to my beautiful grandmother who always believed in me, who always loved me. I can remember as a kid, my grandmother, me telling my grandmother, you know, like, I just get tired of being so nice to people because the world is full of so many cruel people. And she said, no, Kristen, you keep believing and you keep loving people. You keep on raising your light for everyone to see it shine. So it was a nod to that. It was a nod to my nieces, right? You know, that this expectation has been set. So now you have to exceed that expectation. It was a nod to my mother, right? You know, so I consider myself very blessed that my mother, who could have passed in 2008, 2009, but it was a nod to her because she was able to see her daughter walk across that stage. It was a nod to my sisters, right? My cousins. It was a nod to every Black, brown person who had ever been denied any educational opportunities. So I didn't just walk that stage for me. I walked it for a many of people.
Come on, girl.
Yeah.
Come on now, cousin.
And I don't know if Kristen and them I don't know if Kelly's our other sister. If Kelly or Ari or anything, but when you walked across that stage, I just heard the scripture.
Yeah.
And I just screamed because it said the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to him that endureth.
Woo.
And delay does not mean denial. 25 years later.
25 years later with a 3.6 GPA. And let me tell you this. So real quick, University of Louisville, and this is no jab against them, of course, you know, policies are policies. They would not let me graduate with my Latin honors because I had not fulfilled enough course requirements with University of Louisville, because most of my classwork came from IUS, of course, but I still, and that was my dream, y'all. And Krystal knows because I would talk to her about it, and Kiri also, was to finish at least some form of latte, right? Some sort of Latin honors. And so I did. I got 3.6. I earned a 3.6 GPA. I finished. So talk about finish strong. I finished strong with my head held up.
Now let's go to Miss Kiri. Kiri, when you walked across that stage, I'm about to make me cry. I'm just so proud.
Girl, don't let me cry, y'all.
She did it with her man of her dreams.
Yeah.
Her warm at night.
Yes, he definitely keeps me warm at night.
And you know what, guys, we really are, because we are the first generation of college graduates in our family.
In the family,
we're the first generation of college graduates for our family. Kiri, what was that moment like?
Y'all, it was a struggle because I didn't know if my mom, was gonna be able to be there. The couple of days before, I called TARC 3, which is a transportation for accessible.
We didn't talk about your mom.
Oh yeah,
had a slow decline, and so she's to the point to where her, she's faced some health crisis. Yeah. And so you wanted your mom there, waited all this time for your mom to see you graduate, and on graduation day, a rainy day. You didn't know if your mom was going to come and then talk about that story. I painted the picture for you. Go ahead and take it from there.
Thank you, cousin. Thanks for painting that beautiful picture. The trees. No. Okay. So I didn't know she was going to be there. And then we're walking in the processional line about 9:30. It's so funny because I actually started at U of L and then finished at IUS. And Kristen started at IUS and finished at U of L. We flip-flop. But the processional, and I was wondering in my mind, I was like, I hope my mom and dad got to the handicapped seating or accessible seating, but I couldn't really worry about it because I'm in the line. So I'm walking, and then the official was like, hey, everybody, I need y'all to part pretty much some on the left, some on the right. We need a single file line. We need to clear this area. We got somebody coming through with a wheelchair, and we need to stop everybody. And people were like, I don't want to step in the grass. And I was kind of like, oh, I got heels on too, but I'll move out the way. And y'all, it was my mom being rolled in by my dad. Yeah, and she had her mom's dear mom blanket that I got her a couple months ago.
Girl.
Y'all, I had no idea that, that's just God, because I was literally wondering where they was at, and it was so many people there, like over 1,000 something people there, and my husband met up with them, led them right to the front. And it was raining, and I was a little bit upset. I'm not gonna say what I was saying in my head when it was raining. Okay, I'm like, my makeup is getting messed up, my hair, oh my God. But I was
girl.
But yes, and what came to me, it was like, this is not a setback, it's just purification. This is the purification for your next journey here. This is a testimony. I ended up actually getting 18 credit hours waived for me to be able to graduate. The dean was like, you've done so much coursework, you have over 120 credit hours. You qualify for 2 bachelors at this point. You don't have to, you ain't got to do that. So it was just a moment, I was the 5th person to be seated, 5th person to walk across the stage, and it just 5th means grace to me. Number 5 means grace, and it was just literally grace for me to be able to graduate, to get the degree. And I didn't have a 3.6, I had a 3.4.
Come on, baby.
Okay.
Be up there.
And I did get honors, leadership merit honors with the National Honor Society, and it just was a legacy, because I had a dream, a vision that I was graduating, and my husband was there, and these 2 kids, my 2 kids, before I even had them in my life. And when I was seeing some of my student loans piling up, and I'm like, it kind of messes with you, because you got these student loans, but you don't have this degree, and it's like, so many days crying, and so many nights, just stressed out, and nobody knowing, and just operating like normal, but y'all don't know the internal turmoil in this, to see it finally coming to fruition. People are like, oh, congratulations, but they don't know how hard it was on this journey. It was like climbing up Mount Everest, with all of these rocks and these variables just coming down, at you. And it's really like the fittest of the fit. If a purpose is for you, and it's divine or ordinated for you, you just have to have faith that through all the ruckus and all the rocks and all of the hardships, you will get to your destiny, and it will be divine. It'll be 24 karat, 24 karat, it's not rubbish. It's more valuable than 10 karat. 10 karat, you slap it together. 24, it takes a little bit more pressure. So, these journeys that we have is just 24 karat. And sometimes it does take a lot of pressure to get there. To spark.
I love it. And y'all, we're about running out of time. This has been such a wonderful conversation. The audience is definitely loving it. I hope, if you're tuned in, I hope this is inspiring.
You can do it.
Kayla,
don't give up.
Kayla said mom is crying.
Oh my God. No, mama. My mama would ask me every day, when are you going to get your degree? Because my younger sister got hers. So I was like, mama, I just had this baby girl. I'm trying to be a mama. But mama, I got this degree, mama.
Let me ask y'all this question. What does finishing strong mean to you now in this season of your life? Kristen, I'll let you go first. What does finishing strong mean to you in this season of your life? What is this moment feel like? What does this mean to you?
Well, it means to trust, lean into God, right? Lean into his promises and do things the way that he would do them, like extraordinarily, right?
Yeah.
So when I came through with and I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna be honest, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, you know what? I might as well just fly through with C's in these 2 remaining courses. And because they were heavy writing courses. And she was like, Kristen, but you want to apply for the master's program. And I said, you're right. But, the university's already told me that I'm not going to be able to qualify for Latin honors. And she said, Kristen, but then I told myself, you know what? I'm going to finish strong though, because again, I'm walking across that stage for a many of people. So I went ahead and finished it strong with those 2 A's, but just doing things the way God would do them, basically. He's not going to do things with like a small stamp. He's going to do things like on a grand level.
Grand level, that's right.
So just to finish in at that level, basically.
And we didn't even talk about the blessing, because your amazing wife, Jess, bless her heart, she needs to be thwarted into sainthood.
Yeah.
This one right here. But
Definitely.
yes,
She's a saint.
Jess worked for the University of Louisville, which is how you were able to go back and get the tuition covered.
Yep. I was able to actually finish strong. And that's another reason why that was additional motivation for me to finish strong, because I was working on her legacy there at University of Louisville Hospital, right? So yeah, 3.6, we made it work, baby. Absolutely. But yes, big shout outs to my wife, Jessica Withrow, and her fabulous family. They never stopped believing in me. My family never stopped believing in me. So that's just what it means to finish strong. It's so important.
Kiri, how about you? Finishing strong. Why is that? What does that mean to you in this season?
Finishing strong is because of legacy. Representation matters.
Yeah.
And so my kids was there. I think that was a blessing for them to be there. And I just wanted them to see that through all the trials and tribulations, y'all know it hasn't been easy for me. Sometimes getting y'all to do y'all's chores and then homework, honey, ain't got enough time for no talk back. So, it's just like, finishing strong is legacy. It's showing the example that it can be done. I was able to do it with all of this that I'm juggling. You can be able to do it. Our parents used to quote, you're the head and not the tail. You're in the above and not in the beneath. And so that just stuck with me. So when God does something, God always does it with excellence. So we should finish strong. We should put our best foot forward, because people are watching and people need inspiration, and people need to know that they can do it too, especially if they see somebody relatable or somebody that they know doing it as well.
All right. Another question. And then we're going to do the rapid fire. And so let's move through this real quick, but it just came to my heart. I want to hear, what would you say to that to 2004 Kiri, who just graduated high school? You had no clue what was going to be thrown at you. You had no clue that there would be so many obstacles on your journey to get that degree. But if hindsight is 2020, what would you say to your younger self about the journey ahead, and what words of hope and inspiration would you give to your younger self?
What I would tell my 18-year-old self, 18-year-old Kiri, that there may be trials and tribulations, and you may not even be able to see at this point, where you're going to go, or the light at the end of the tunnel. But all of the trials, all of the tests, all of the hurdles was needed and necessary to purify your journey. And that's what I was tell, my younger self, that this is necessary to purify your journey and to really make an impact and shine your light, because people aren't going to be healed if you can't heal yourself, and if you can't inspire yourself, if you can't encourage yourself. So that you need to, pump that up, get that going, so that you can be an inspiration to others. But this is all necessary for your journey.
I love that. Kristen, real quick, what would you say to yourself, class of 2G, ready to take over the world? Hindsight is 2020. What would you tell Kristen back then of what might be? Little
Kristen that was so uncertain of herself. Because that's what happens when you have a twin. And, that's another conversation another day, of course. But, I was very uncertain, just like you kind of almost have an identity crisis, because, we walk through, everybody wants us to dress alike and be alike, of course, like that. But, oh, God, I would just hug myself and say, Kristen, you have got some challenges and barriers ahead of you. But I'd say, please look to the hills from which cometh your help. God has you. God has you. You have got it. Lean on to my promises. Lean on to me. I've got you. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
I love that. And then we're going to get back to that, being a twin with someone like me. We'll get to that conversation. Okay, rapid fire. Just, you got to say the first answer that comes to your mind. All right. It's all about celebration and motivation. First up, what's your walk across the stage theme song? What was playing in your head as you was walking across the stage, or what was you thinking about? What is your anthem for this season?
Victoria Monet, I get it from my mama. Hey.
If y'all didn't know, my cousin's she's cute. She's real cute and proper, but she's got a little hood to her. She love it. I love it.
I'm a thug, baby. I'm a thug. No.
Kristen, what song for you?
I tell you, when I was going through, my song that I leaned on was for Kiri Mitchell's "Turning Around for Me." Sometimes discouraged, not defeated, cast down, but not destroyed. There are times I don't understand, but I believe it's turning around for me.
Woo!
Okay, now
because
come
the song
on now.
says, sooner or later, it's going to work in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it around for me. I love that song.
Right.
All right. Degree or diploma moment. Heels, sneakers, or barefoot and proud. What was you sporting on that day? Did you have heels, barefoot, or sneakers? What was your preference that day?
I had some dress shoes on. I would have been nice with some Yeezy slides on, but I don't think anybody's gonna let that
ride. What you get? What'd you have?
Y'all know I had some stilettos on with the pearls. We had the little pearls on it with the pearl earrings. Hey.
I love that.
Yeah. Like my mama.
What was favorite late night study snack?
Cookie dough ice cream.
Ooh, I love that.
I don't think I would be so deep into my study sessions. Listen, I don't think I had one. Maybe I had some water.
Oh, girl, stop lying. Stop lying to the people.
I don't know. Like I was just stressed, man.
Yeah. Well, ladies, we want to say congratulations to you. If you're in the comment section, go on and make some noise. Give them some hearts.
You can do it.
You can do it.
That's right. You can do it. And they're saying it. They are the comeback crew. But guess what? You can be a part of it too. And if you get started now, next year is going to be your testimony, or 2 years, or however long it takes you. What's next? I want to know this real quick. We're almost out of time. Well, we are out of time. But what's next? Kiri, what's next with this degree in hand? Tell them what your degree is in and what is next.
My degree is in general studies with a minor in organizational communication. And what's next is I am finishing my second semester in the fall of my master's program at IUS again. I'm doing organizational leadership and communication. Looking for an executive leadership role in corporate America, honey, because representation matters, and I'm your girl.
Kristen, go on and shout out your degree.
I earned my bachelor's of science in psychology from University of Louisville. Next steps, I want to spend some intentional time with my wife, because she's made those sacrifices for me. So we just want to be able to sit and chill with each other, have a little relaxing time. But then within a year or so, I definitely want to go back and two choices. So maybe my master's of psychology, I'm thinking clinical psych, or maybe master of science in social work. So we'll just kind of see. And that's another reason why I didn't dive back in, because I did not know which direction I wanted to take. So pray for me about that, folks. I know I want to help the community, but just kind of trying to see which direction to take.
All right. Want to show y'all all the love. The people are sending you hearts and love.
Thank you.
Big shout outs to Miss LaRusha. She said, yes, God's plan and timing is the best. And we got to trust and believe that, right? We can't measure our story to someone else's, because the path that you were supposed to take is the path you were supposed to take. And so, ladies, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your stories. This was so good and candid, and I love every moment of it. And I just want to say to every graduate who took the long road, the detour, the unexpected pause, this episode was for you. You were sent here for this moment to hear this. All right. You didn't quit. You regrouped. You made a comeback. All right. To these ladies right there. And whether you've already crossed the stage or you're just now lacing up your shoes to go back, you deserve to finish strong. Kristen and Kiri, thank you for reminding us that our timeline is our own and the finish line doesn't move just because life happens. To my Kandid Land family, I just want to tell you guys to keep pushing, keep dreaming. And if life puts your plans on pause, press play again, because your purpose is still waiting. Until next time, it's Miss Krystal. And thanks so much for tuning into Kandid Conversations. Keep it candid. Goodbye.